Hey everyone, it's Colin from DIY Guy. Thanks for checking out today's video. It is the first DIY video in Nashville, Tennessee. We made it home safe. We took an 8-hour road trip with a 20-foot U-Haul, pulling a car behind us. It was an experience for sure. But the house is great, quiet neighborhood back here, and then also we've got a big backyard, which is way better than the front yard garden back in Greensboro. But one downside, as you can see, there's no garden back here. We've got a shovel in the dirt because I'm about to start one. And the first thing we're gonna plant is green onions. Now why, you might ask, are we gonna plant green onions first? Well, there's a few reasons. The first reason is that they grow fast and you don't have to grow them from seed. And that's because we're gonna cut off right here at the blue rubber band, everything up here that we're gonna use in the kitchen. And then we're gonna keep down here all the white and all the root part. And what you're gonna be left with is something like this. So it's about 2 to 3 inches, keep the root part at the end. And all we're gonna do is stick these in the ground, water them really well, and in 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 weeks, you're gonna have something that you can cut off and use in the kitchen again. The second reason is I don't wanna pay 89 cents every time I need green onions from the store. So we got these at Kroger, it's a bunch of 5. We can pay 89 cents, plant them in the ground, and have basically infinite green onions. Now the third and final reason is actually because of our love for a certain Molly Baugh's recipe, which is, I don't know the exact name of it, but I'll put the link in the description. They are breakfast tacos, and they have eggs, hot sauce, pepitas, and you guessed it, green onions. Now I've got a quick story as to why you should always grow and use your own green onions instead of buying them from the store. And the biggest thing is flavor. I mean, these things are, they're just not good. So yesterday, Michaela and I made this breakfast taco recipe. Thank you, Molly Baugh's, if you're watching this, for a delicious breakfast taco recipe. But back in Greensboro, we always used garden fresh green onions. We had a big patch of them. They were ready whenever we wanted. And unfortunately, now that we moved here, we have no garden and we have to use store-bought. So I get ready to dig into these tacos and I'm thinking, you know, I just want to be aware of whether there's a flavor difference between the Greensboro garden onions and the Nashville store-bought green onions. And so I bite in a couple bites, don't really taste much green onion flavor. And so the next bite comes up and there's a big pile of green onions in this next bite. And I'm thinking, all right, this is the chance. If I don't taste it here, they're just not, they don't have any flavor. So I take this bite, and back in Greensboro, that bite would have been loaded with flavor. These green onions would have still had a little bit of crunch to them, a very sweet blast of green oniony flavor mixed with a little bit of vinegar from the hot sauce. Absolutely delicious. And I was really looking forward to that same flavor yesterday. But I bit into these Nashville Kroger store-bought green onions and it tasted like lettuce. There was no green onion flavor to be found in that taco. And instantly I thought, I have to get these in the ground ASAP because I don't want to eat these tacos and ruin this recipe with bad ingredients. So that is my story on why you should always grow your own green onions, and that's why I'm starting this first thing today, because I never want to eat another breakfast taco without garden green onions. For the next part of this video, I want to take you with me. Feel free to keep watching. I'm going to break ground on this new Nashville garden. I'm going to set up about a 1 by 2 foot bed just for the green onions, so just starting a little patch. But the one thing to keep in mind, especially if you don't do your own yard work, is make sure you mark those corners or have a raised bed or some sort of planter or something, because the lawn guy is going to see them, it's going to look like grass, and he's going to buzz off your babies. Now unfortunately the dirt back here is pretty trash. I wish I could have taken some compost from my house with me, but we're going to make it work. So I'm just kind of scraping up some of this mounded dirt, and I'm going to make a little mound garden here, and I'm going to try to make it as rectangular as I can, and then I'm going to plant my green onions in it. I'm also taking some dirt from up at the flower bed that's not being used. Here's my little dirt patch that's going to be my green onion farm. And the best way to start a garden if you don't have a tiller is to build up. So raised garden beds are super convenient for this. I'm going to be on the lookout in the neighborhood for people that throw away scrap wood or anything like that, because I'd love to put kind of a wooden border around this just so the dirt doesn't wash away. But you can do this however you want. If you just have a little planter that you want to stick on your windowsill, you could do the exact same thing. Green onions don't get that big. They get tall, but they don't take up a lot of wide space. So I'm just going to chop this up, break up all the big chunks. These are just brand new little plants and they're not going to have a lot of strength in their roots, so they need good dirt to be able to dig into and not rocks. So I've got a rectangular plastic planter that I could use, but the downside of that is that you kind of cut off the roots from the rest of the soil. And so once the planter dries out, there's really nowhere for the roots to dig deeper to find water. So you really have to stay on top of the watering with a planter. Or, you can plant them in the dirt here and kind of let nature do its thing. So I bought 2 bunches of green onions from Kroger, and now I've got 10 of these little root sections to plant in the ground. So when you plant these, they only need 3 or 4 inches between them. They don't take up a lot of lateral space. They mostly grow vertically. But you do want to make sure that they're in the dirt about as far as the white is. So, some of these are a little bit different. You see this one's a lot longer and has more green on it than this one. But for both of them, we're going to go about to where the white stops. So for this one, it'll be about midway. But for this shorter one, it's going to be about 3/4 of the way. And so we'll just make holes with our finger and stick them in the ground so they're about to that white part. And then we'll just cover them up. There's really no magic to growing green onions. A lot of times if you toss the scraps in your compost pile, they'll start right there, kind of like potatoes. So they don't need a lot. If you just plant them in the ground, give them some water every couple days, make sure that the top inch or 2 doesn't dry out, they'll be fine and you'll be having new green onions in no time. So last thing we're going to do is water them in the ground really well. Maybe if you have some mulch or some grass clippings, it'd be good to put that over the top of it as well. Just because when it's baking in 92, 93 degree sun, this dirt's going to dry out pretty fast. So I think there's actually a mulch pile in the back corner that I'll go snag some from and help kind of, insulate these green onions from the sun. Well, that's all I've got for the gardening portion of today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to stick around, I'll give you a quick tour of the backyard, the shed, the space back here in Nashville. Really excited to be in a new city. But these green onions should start popping up in the next few days. The centers will just look like they're extruding upward a little bit, and they're just going to grow. It's going to be like they're replacing what you just cut off, kind of it'll be like a starfish or something. But with that, keep growing yourself. I'll catch you in the next one, or stick around and I'll give you a quick tour. So right now I'm standing on the back deck, and here's a look out to our brand new yard, brand new to us. But this is very exciting. We get to have a massive shed that holds all my tools. Not much going on back here as far as landscape, so I took some of that dirt for my green onions. But there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There is the start of Nashville's DIY garden. And so back here, we've got a concrete pad, good for some car work. I'll give you a quick tour of this shed, just let you peek inside. Back there behind that fence was like a bonfire area, and it's just a mosquito fest, so we're not going to go back there. But in here, this turned out to be a lifesaver because I have a bunch of just tools and equipment from the garage and gardening stuff that I'm able to store back here. So this will be huge having this right next to the garden, and I won't have to store it in the house. This goes all the way back here. It's actually got a light. Luckily won't have to mow my own yard, so that'll be sweet. But this whole lot is about an acre, I think. The house isn't much to look at. It could use a paint job on the outside, but the inside's pretty cozy. You got hardwood floors, new HVAC, new roof. And to be honest, we've made it our home in about 3 days. So shout out to my wife, Michaela, for helping me unload everything and make the move super awesome. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed the tour. I'll see you in the next one.